Leader of the Green Party, Zack Polanski, has signed a letter urging the government to track the movement of British citizens that have recently served in the Israeli Defence League. In the letter, organised by Declassified UK, Polanski urged Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood and Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper to set up, to set up a database of up to 2,000 British Israelis who have served in the IDF since October 7th, 2023, in relation to actions of war crimes against the Palestinian people. The letter states that it would be in the public interest to be able to monitor these people. The letter has been co-signed by other MPs, including Jeremy Corbyn, Diane Abbott, and Zara Sultana, to name a few. We, the undersigned, and politicians, lawyers, campaigners, human rights defenders, journalists, and other professionals who believe the public interest is best served by monitoring the entry of British Israeli dual national citizens into the UK and investigating potential links to war crimes in cases where they have served in the IDF. Individuals who have returned from fighting in Gaza may now be living alongside us and working in public institutions such as hospitals, the police, and schools. Nobody wants to live next to a potential war criminal, not least members of the Palestinian community in the UK who have family or friends who have been subjected to war crimes. Speaking to Jewish News, a spokesperson from the Board of Deputies of British Jews said of the petition, "It seems to be another attempt to demonize Israelis and promote an atmosphere of intimidation against British Jews. The call of those who have signed it, including Zack Polanski, to treat people as potential criminals just because of their passport is a unique and wholly unacceptable form of discrimination." Taking to Twitter, Zack Goldsmith said, "What a disgusting piece of human trash he is. How can he live with himself?" And a load of sick emojis just for effect. Which is somewhat ironic given that Goldsmith ran that infamous 2016 London mayoral campaign against Sadiq Khan, which was widely attacked for being Islamophobic. The Goldsmith campaign was first criticised for attempting to divide voters when leaflets emerged targeting Hindu voters that suggested Khan would tax their jewellery if he became London's mayor. His campaign then tried to accuse the now Mayor of London of associating with alleged extremists before he became an MP, although that backfired when one of those cited turned out to be a Tory supporter. Yeah, it was the intervention from right-wing journalist Sarah Vine that was the most repulsive. Does he want them to wear yellow armbands too? That's absolutely disgusting. Documented people potentially committing war crimes joining an army fighting for a genocidal state is apparently the same as Nazi Germany and rounding up Jews. Zack Polanski, despite being Jewish himself, has been repeatedly criticised for supposed growing anti-Semitism within the Green Party. Kevin Hollenreich, the Conservative Party chairman, told The Telegraph, "At a time when anti-Semitism is on the rise, Zack Polanski should not be stoking further division and hostility in our society. He should immediately withdraw his name from this letter, and the Green Party need to get serious about tackling anti-Semitism and rooting out hate within their own ranks." Meanwhile, a spokesperson for Polanski responded to the backlash. The IDF has been credibly accused of horrific war crimes in Gaza by bodies including the UN Human Rights Council, Human Rights Watch, and Amnesty International, and the UK government should be taking robust action against any British citizens complicit in these crimes. Last September, the British government concluded that Israel had not committed genocide. Kevin, in a time where we're seeing people being banned from entering the UK for their criticism of Israel, what do you make of this letter?
It seems so obvious to me that this should be a perfectly reasonable part of border security, if nothing else. I think this should be extended to people who have served in any armed forces of a foreign nation. Again, not to persecute them, but to track potential foreign agents. These are people who obviously have skin in the game, so to speak. And so it makes perfect sense to track the movements and activities of these people, especially given that we know that Israel uses former members of the IDF involved in kinds of secret activities through Mossad and such. This is not a controversial or anti-Semitic point. They do false flags all the time. They do targeted intimidation and indeed up to including assassination of political opponents all around the world. We know that they do these things. So why would it? It makes perfect sense to track and possibly stop some of that activity. Hopefully, now there's so many aspects to this story that are so disingenuous, as is always the case, because the only defense you can realistically make of the Israeli government and the IDF is dishonest. You can't do so on the basis of international law or basic humanity seriously. Obviously, have been complicit, the British government, in genocide, and our Israeli government are guilty of genocide. It's so nakedly obvious that that's the case, and yet we live with a political class that want to pretend otherwise, and one does have to question what it is. Yeah, in terms of the defense of the IDF here, or the kind of Hasbro smokescreen that they're trying to throw up here, it's not on the basis of someone's passport that this would be done. I don't think we need to target every single Israeli. It's people who have served in the IDF and are dual citizens. I think is perfectly reasonable. They are very likely to have engaged of war crimes and genocide, and so tracking those people and potentially prosecuting them, I think, is a wise course of action. Now, the usual shell game that Zionists do with Israel, they've now transposed into this particular situation, which is when it suits them, Israel is a multicultural, loving, accepting place where they're not all Jews that live there. They're not all Jews that work in the IDF or in this organization or that organization. There are Arabs and Christians and atheists and all kinds of different people. And yet when it suits them, they will completely use as synonyms Israel and Jewish, which they have claimed in the past, and indeed the definition that was foisted on the Labour Party included directly that if you compare Israel to all Jews, that is anti-Semitic, inherently saying that the defense of Israel is itself anti-Semitic. Because we're not saying that you should be tracked on the basis of you being Jewish. So the idea of comparing it to the Holocaust is disgusting, and not remotely the first time that Zionists have disingenuously used the Holocaust as a defense, which itself is pretty disgusting. But there is a place in the world where you have religiously discriminatory laws based upon whether you are a specific religion or not. And that place would be Israel, where they literally just passed the law basically saying they can just kill Palestinians now. They can just execute them. And of course, it doesn't allow for interfaith marriages. There are first and second class citizens. It is an apartheid state. And the defense of it by people who are now claiming that just tracking foreign registered agents in your own territory as a part of like apartheid is a really disgusting hypocrisy and should be pointed out by everybody. And the sort of British internal political point here, given that we're currently in the midst of the Makerfield by-election, and Andy Burnham, the Prime Minister in waiting in all but name, right, has today come out and refused singularly to describe what Israel has done as genocide, which shouldn't be massively surprising given that previously he was a member of the Labour Friends of Israel, which is essentially just an Israeli proxy in the United Kingdom, one of many, of course. And the Green Party have drawn a clear delineation between themselves and the Labour Party on this particular issue. If you want actual change, if you want progress in this area, especially when it comes to the British government, Andy Burnham is not offering you that. Only the Green Party are, let's say, even if they don't necessarily want to call themselves anti-Zionist, they are certainly not pro-Zionist, and that makes them pretty much the only mainstream political party in Britain that holds that position.